Brahmacharya means sexual restraint. Literally, it means to retain the semen retention, if you will, in the men who were practicing yoga at the time that the Yoga Sutras were formulated. Let's talk a little bit about Brahmacharya. The Yoga Sutra says, one who is established in continence or sexual restraint gains vitality, and that is Yoga Sutra chapter 2, verse 38. As I mentioned, the fourth yama can be a bit confusing to the modern yogi. Why? Because this notion of sexual restraint was really designed for the men living in the forest academies and learning and living under a guru. During those times, celibacy was not only quite common, but it was required of those living in these forest academies, which in modern day are called ashrams. The men, and sometimes women later on, but for all intents and purposes, you and I both know that 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, it was the men that were in these types of communities where they were learning under the guidance of a guru, a spiritual teacher. They were all men. And in the forest academies, they got these men that they were not men. They were boys. They were boys as young as 11 or 12 years old. And they stayed in these forest academies for 12 years. Now, think about it. Just think about it. You get a whole bunch, hundreds of 11 and 12-year-old boys just at the cusp of puberty, learning about their bodies, seeing their bodies go through changes. Whether it was 4,000 years ago or today, everyone goes through the same kinds of thing when they're going through puberty. Now, the problem with this, here is the problem with the old interpretation of Brahmacharya and even the more recent interpretation of Brahmacharya by the yogis who wrote different books in the 20th century. I'm not even talking about way far back. I'm talking about yogis who have written about Brahmacharya in the 20th century and the 21st century, mostly in the 20th century though, was they really interpreted it at face value. So they talked about sexual restraint. They talked about perhaps the sexual act not needing to be done except for procreation. And that really brings us more to religious dogma. And that wasn't the pure intent of Brahmacharya to start with.